as we reported earlier, Nigeria's inflation rate has seen a significant rise, according to data released by the National Bureau of Statistics. In June, the rate of inflation increased for the 19th consecutive month, up from 33.95% in May to 34.19% in June. Well, Paul Alaje, chief economist at SPM Professionals, joins us from our Lagos studio for more on this. Thank you very much, Paul, for joining us on Newsnight. Well, just like we were, saying earlier, it does seem that this figure may not really reflect where the inflation rate truly is presently, because if you go to the markets, on the streets, it's more like figures have more than tripled as far as inflation is concerned. Your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me. A beautiful evening to you and to those watching us right now all around the world. Several research organizations have spoken to the current inflation rate that says that Nigeria inflation is now above 34%, talking about headline inflation, while food inflation is above 40.86, is around 40.86%. Comparing that with data from independent international organization, some of them felt, especially one even mentioned that it is over 107%. However, for Nigeria, we will still continue to rely on the data coming from Bureau of Statistics. Two things we can mention from the Bureau of Statistics report. One is inflation is increasing at an increasing rate, and that inflation is still very high. The Nigeria's inflation is expected to be between 6 to 9%, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria many years back. That is where he hopes Nigeria inflation will be. We are still hoping to get back to the 2015 inflation data days. But as of now, from towards the last quarter of 2015 till date, inflation has continued to run faster than Usain Bolt, who is not even in Nigeria. Food inflation climbed so speedily, is now at 40%, while the center of inflation remain urban center, while those at the rural area are catching up very quickly. Because according to the number released by the Bureau of Statistics, both urban center and rural inflation are quite high, all above 30%. For food inflation, it appears Edo State received the baton this time, as it has the highest number at over 40%. As a matter of fact, Edo is doing 47%, while Nasarawa, who perhaps is the least, according to the number released by the Bureau of Statistics, has quite high inflation also, but not as much. It's at over 34%. By and large, we know where inflation is dominating, and we now know what is driving inflation. It's been driving inflation for some time. And by the way, we have also seen response from Central Bank of Nigeria. Oftentimes, Central Bank would say to combat inflation, because over 100 trillion that is in the economy, the best thing to do through the Monetary Policy Committee is to raise interest rate. As I speak to you, interest rate is over 28%. I think it used to be 14%. Now 26%, I beg your pardon. I think 26.25%. But has all of these increases in interest rate by the Monetary Policy Committee increasing MPR, has it really helped in combating inflationary rate? Unfortunately, the inflation rate we are dealing with in Nigeria seems to be stubborn as it continues to grow faster and beating the measures put in place by the monetary authority. Are we doing the right thing? Well, I don't know if that will come as a question. Then we can look more at the things that we should be looking at in order for us to get out of the woods. First, to remove the misconception and also to do the correct things so that we can be free from the current inflationary quagmire that we have been on for close to 10 years. By next year, it will be 2025, and that will mean that we have surpassed our inflation target for quite a while now.
All right, Paul, whenever we come on this show, I like to always bring you to see how we can break it down and make more meaning. Well, our colleagues went to town. They were out today again, and they gave the temperament and ideas coming from a lot of Nigerians. And they think that some of these are tied to policies, insecurity, and the devaluation of the Naira. That's sort of everyday Nigerians speaking from the streets. What can you say? Because looking at all of these figures, they just may not mean anything to anyone, even you and I inclusive, if we can't pinpoint and say this is the problem that has bedeviled the country in the past decade?
Well, we must stop playing the ostrich, and we must stop spinning our own tail or chasing our own tail. Tail spinning has no place in economics. Let me tell you what we've done over the time, and not just this administration, even the previous administration. What we've done over the time is to use monetary tools to combat inflation that is not just demand-based. Look at it. What is in the media right now is that, oh, we have over 100 trillion naira in the economy. And because of too much money chasing fewer goods, what we are going to do is to mop up the money. And I say that will not solve our problem. Inflation crossed the 10% mark, it left 9% when exchange rate was at 200, 199, 200. Now, the quality of money in circulation, you might be looking at the nominal money. That is, how much is in circulation? Maybe over 100 trillion. But what 100 trillion naira could buy this time last year is completely different from what it could buy this time. So exchange rate has a place that is even inducing monies that is in circulation. So if you have policy that says this is a benchmark of regarding the amount of money that should be in circulation, and we are using that in the reality of today to mop up money from circulation, I'm afraid that will not work. So what have we done? We've increased interest rates. Increasing interest rate consistently from 14% now to 26%, it sends two signals. One, it has capacity of crowding out investment. And I'm happy Monetary Authority have said they are not unaware of these possible side effects. You know, when you take some medication, some may have side effects. So in taking it, you have to take it in accurate proportion and take the accurate measure that have been recommended by the physician. So here is it. We have the side effect on one hand. On the other hand, we're also crowding out employment. Now, the implication.
I
don't
want
know.
to
Go ahead.
just
Yes, go ahead.
Land on that, please.
Okay, the implication is that rather than us trying to fight inflation, we may actually be inducing inflation. Because when we raise interest rates and banks send signals to those that have borrowed before, or it's costlier for people to borrow now, if they must do business, the cost of production would increase. So if it increases, it will have implication on price. If price is high, of course, basket of commodity all will be affected, and we have to deal with higher inflation rate. And we have quite a number of things that is also inducing inflation. We are not producing our own PMS. We have heard that perhaps in the next 2 weeks or so, Port Harcourt refinery will come mainstream. I hope we will not hope against hope this time. 700 naira per litre is humongous, banding people into and in terms of consumption is also high. Floating rate is not helping. So we have a lot of policy that naturally will make inflation to happen. Unfortunately, as this inflation is increasing, investment is also increasing, and unemployment is reducing. Unfortunately, that is not what we see. What we have is inflation increasing on one hand, unemployment is increasing on the other hand, poverty is increasing to make it a tripod. So what you have is stagflation, according to economic theories.
Yeah, Paul, I'd like to thank you for your time as always. Many thanks, Paul Alaje, for speaking with us.